बिहारी जय राधा माधव, जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा, गिरवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा, गिरवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रजदन रञ्जन, यशोदनन्दन व्रजदन रञ्जन, यमुनातीरावनचारी, यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधमाधव, जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय राधमाधव, जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ, जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ, जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जन, यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव, जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव, जय कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम, रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम, सीताराम जय सीताराम, सीताराम जय सीताराम, सीताराम जय सीताराम, सीताराम जय सीताराम। Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees. A small kirtan before we start our Krishna Katha. And it is so wonderful, I feel so blissful. This is such a wonderful time we are in with Ram Leela finally in Ayodhya. And we are so fortunate because we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who's given us Krishna Prema, and who has also shown us Sadbhuja Murti, which Ramanath Prabhu was just talking about Sadbhuja Murti, such a beautiful form of six-armed form of Krishna, as well as Ram Krishna holding the flute as well as the stick which he used for the cowherd for the cows. And then we have Lord Ram holding the bow and the arrow. And then we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who's only holding the sannyasa stick as well as Kamandalam. It is such a beautiful thing that we are at a time when we are following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who kind of revealed this Sadbhuja Murti to his closest devotees like Saurabha Bhattacharya at that point of time, to show this actual form, this six-armed form. And we are so fortunate that we have combination of both Bhagavan Sri Krishna and Bhagavan Ram, and we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. What more blissful that we can think about? And on this occasion that we had, and in manner, we are so blessed that we have Bhagavan Ram as well as Bhagavan Sri Krishna as well. And in fact, I was just reading that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was going on a tour in South India, and he used to always sing this beautiful song in praise of both Lord Ram and Lord Krishna. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Pahi Mam, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Raksha Mam. Praying to both Lord Ram, Bhagavan Ram, the descendant from the Raghu dynasty, and Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who's the killer of the case, demon Kesi, to both, to Bhagavan Ram and Krishna, to give us protection. And we are so fortunate to belong to this Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, and we do the same prayers to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he is the merciful incarnation of Krishna to give us Krishna Prema. And there can't be a better time this that in our generation we are seeing Ayodhya happening. In our generation we are able to take to Krishna consciousnus, and we are at this generation where we are still able to, we have the guidance of Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's disciples like Ramnath Prabhuji. So what can be more fortunate than that, to be in this generation, in this, at a time like this, to be blessed with all the knowledge. And it is up to us, as Krishna always says, even after explaining the whole of Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna, Yata Chasi Tata Kuru, like whatever, contemplate and take the right decision. So Krishna is always giving us a free will. But if we can make the best use of our free will to turn into devotion towards Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Krishna also reciprocates. It's not like he's giving us the free will to worship Krishna, but Krishna is saying that you take that first step and I will take the more steps towards you as well. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmari yuddhacha maya arpito manobuddhi mamivesasya. You always think of me as the form of Krishna, at the same time carry out doing your duties, whatever you're doing. So this is the message. Kaam karte raho, naam bajte raho. So very fortunate, and I would like to get started off with our Krishna Katha. So we are doing wonderfully. We had just covered one chapter last week, and we are diving into another new chapter. It's very nice. Since last few weeks we have been able to manage to cover all the different beautiful leelas of Krishna. And as we always said, this beautiful sloka from Bhagavad Gita where he says, Janma karma cha me divam evam yo veti takrataha chakradeham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. That one who understands Krishna Katha, one who understands Krishna's birth, Krishna's leelas, once we leave, even if we understand these leelas, once we leave this material world, we will not come back here, but we'll directly go to Krishna Loka. That is as auspicious. Krishna Katha is so auspicious because it's purifying. It purifies your Jivatma. It is the actual joy that gives to the Atma. So as we all know, Krishna and Balaram have been invited to Mathura, and Krishna and Balaram, they have gone and they did a bit of leelas of, of how the tailor is giving them clothes, and we done all these things. And now we've seen that how Krishna and Balaram, they actually come to the wrestling arena, and we saw this big elephant called Kovalya Pida being taken care of the caretaker, and how easily it was so easy for Krishna to even handle anything, even as a mighty armed, even an elephant, like an African elephant also, Kovalya Pida. In those days, everything was huge, isn't it? So we can imagine how huge it must be. And even though it had a caretaker, for Krishna, it was just nothing that he just went and immediately put the elephant to death. And at the same time, we've seen and how all the different leelas have been unfolded, and how Krishna finally comes to this wrestling place as well, and all the different wrestlers that who came in front of Krishna also, even they were like literally handled so easily for Krishna, because for Krishna it is so we've seen in the last chapters also, even the most demonic people like Sankachuda, Kesi, Denakashura, and all these demons were just killed by Krishna and Balaram just like that, so effortlessly. So that is how beautiful the Krishna Leela is. And at the same time, so we are seeing in the last few chapters itself, we are able to see what Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita: Paritranaya sadhuna vinasaya cha duskritam dharma samstapanardaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So on one find, we feel the beautiful leelas of Krishna, where Krishna is kind of like giving the benedictions for even a tailor who has just stitched beautiful clothes for Krishna and Balaram, for even a florist who has made a nice garland of flowers for Krishna, and how Krishna has been blessing them with so much of opulence, material opulence, as well as a life beyond that, where they will going to get a four-handed form of Narayan in Vaikuntha. What can be more beautiful? What can anyone even ask for? But this is the blessings of Krishna, that even Neha Vikramanasosti Pratyavayona Vidyate Swalpamabhyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhavat. Krishna Bhagwan says, even if you do a small Swalpamabhyasya, even if you do a little bit of service for Krishna, that will never go unnoticed when it goes. Krishna, as Prabhupada used to always say, Krishna is an accountant who always keeps track of all the small things, even small things that we do for Krishna. Krishna is keeping a note of that. And in a due course of time, Krishna will give us the blessings. But we should continue doing what we are doing, always at the lotus feet of Krishna Bhagwan. And we've seen how even the famous wrestlers like Chanura and Krishna and Balaram, they were kind of instigating them, right? So they were saying like, you try to come and, do your wrestling, show your capabilities and all that. And even though Krishna was trying to tell that, you are the king, you are subject to the king of Bojas, and you live in the jungle, and we are small people, like, why are you playing with simple boys like us? But even still then, they were trying to instigate and trying to put that. And here Chanura has heard about Krishna Bhagwan, these wrestlers who are fighting, who are ready to come to fight with Krishna. They have already heard about Krishna. That's why they say, my dear Krishna, we can understand very well that you are neither a child nor a small young man. You are transcendental to everyone, as is your big brother Balaram. You already killed the elephant Kovalyapida, who's capable of 5,000 fighting thousands of other elephants. You killed him in a wonderful way because of your strength, and it behoves you to compete with the strongest wrestlers among us. I therefore wish to wrestle with you and your younger brother Balaram with Mustika. So till here, as we said, Kamsa is coming up with plan A, plan B, plan C. First, he wants to arrange for the elephants to kill. And if Krishna and Balaram, by any chance, they miss the elephants, now Kamsa wants even the wrestlers like Chanura to go and put an end to Krishna and Balaram. And now you find that they are trying to instigate the boys to come for a wrestling one with that. So this is another beautiful chapter which we have covered. So Krishna is doing both the things. He is one side, he is blessing his devotees, he's reciprocating to the love of his devotees. And on the other hand, he's trying to put an end to all the people who are demonic, or at the same time, someone who's supporting the demonic people like Kamsa. So this was the killing of Kovalyapida. And now we are entering into chapter 44. And I will just do my prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktan. Prabhupada ki jai. So I'm so happy. Before I forget, I just wanted to tell you tomorrow is my birthday, and I'm taking this as a wonderful occasion to be sharing Krishna Katha with you. And I just humbly request to have all your blessings as we do this Krishna Katha, and maybe use this whole year to enjoy this more and more nectar with all our devotees and wonderful association of all our devotees. So I will just get started off.
Yeah, we have to say everyone say happy birthday to you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, happy birthday. Please, everyone unmute and say 3 times Hare Krishna, please.
Thank you, Prabhu. I didn't want to just forget, and I wanted to get your blessings. Maybe it's my eagerness, but I don't.
This is,
Hari
yeah.
Bol.
Hari
Hari Bol, Hari
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 Bol,
Thank
Bol.
you, thank
Hari
you.
Hari
Bol.
Hari
Bol.
Bol.
Hari
Thank
Bol.
you. I taking a leave
Hey,
tomorrow.
happy birthday.
Thank you, Prabhu. Taking a leave tomorrow. Just want to go and spend some time in the temple with Krishna Bhagwan and yeah, spend time spiritually. Thank you very much. Um, so we just going to get started off with the killing of Kamsa, another beautiful chapter unfolding. After Kamsa's wrestlers expressed their determination, Bhagwan Sri Krishna, the killer of Madhu, confronted Chanura, and Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini, confronted Mustika. Krishna and Chanura, and then Balarama and Mustika locked themselves hand to hand, leg to leg, and each began to press against other with a view to coming out victorious. They joined palm to palm, calf to calf, head to head, chest to chest, and began to strike each other. The fighting increased as they pushed each other from one place to another. One captured the other and threw him down on the ground, and another rushed from the back to the front of another and tried to overcome him with a hold. The fighting increased step by step. There was picking up, dragging, and pushing, and then the legs and hands were locked together. All arts of wrestling were perfectly exhibited by parties as each tried his best to defeat his opponents. So another beautiful Leela unfolding as we know that the Kamsa is already prepared his wrestlers to fight. The wrestlers' names are Chanura and Mustika. And we can see from this that Krishna and was fighting with Chanura and Balaram was fighting with Mustika. And even now we can see the practice, isn't it? In India, especially wrestlers and in the mud, they just play and they bristle around with muzzle around with each other and with the locked hands and see like who can lock each other one another kind of thing. So it's another sport which is still being followed, but you can see that they're just trying to defeat Krishna and Chanura because they were being asked by Kamsa to put an end to Krishna and Balaram. But the audience in the wrestling arena was not very much satisfied because the combatants did not appear to be equally matched. They considered Krishna and Balaram to be mere boys before Chanura and Mastika, who were the strongest wrestlers, as solid as stone. Being compassionate and favoring Krishna and Balaram, the many ladies in the audience began to talk as follows. Dear friends, there is injustice here. Another said, even in front of the king, this wrestling is going on between incompatible sides. The ladies had lost their sense of enjoyment. They could not encourage the fighting because the fighting was going on between the strong and the weak. Mustika and Chanura are just like thunderbolts, as strong as great mountains. And Krishna and Balaram are two delicate boys of a very tender age. The principle of justice had already left this assembly. Persons who are aware of the civilized principles of justice will not remain to watch this unfair match. Those taking part in watching this wrestling match are not very much enlightened. Therefore, whether they speak or remain silent, they are being subjected to reactions of sinful activities. So this you can see from this passage that this paragraph that the people of Mathura, they feel like it's a very unjust kind of thing that's happening on because Krishna and Balaram, they were like so tender that everybody were like so enamored to see how beautiful they were looking. And like even now also, right? Sometimes when you see some people who are like very nice and bright and chubby and like very cute and very young, and then you suddenly see somebody who's like huge, macho and gym built body and things like that, and if you're fighting, you feel like this is just not right because it doesn't feel right. Boys of a tender age fighting against such a macho kind of a huge people, and these Mustika and Chanura, just like many celebrities, these people must be like huge celebrities in those days in the muscling, in the wrestling arena. And you can see that they feel like the people out there, they're feeling this is not right at all. Yeah, that's what the ladies are watching this match and this feeling like, and it's happening in right before the eyes of the king, which is just not right. And in fact, they feel that even arranging for something like this is just subjected to reactions of sinful activities because it is so unfair. But my dear friends, another lady in the assembly spoke out. Just look at the face of Krishna. There are drops of perspiration on his face from chasing his enemy, and his face appears like lotus flower with drops of water. Another lady said, don't you see how the face of Lord Balaram has turned especially beautiful? There is a reddish hue on his white face because he is engaged in strenuous wrestling match with Mustika. Another lady in the assembly addressed a friend. My dear friends, just imagine how fortunate is the land of Vrindavan, where the Supreme Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself is present, always decorated with flower garlands and engaged in tending cows along with his brother Balaram, Lord Balaram. He is always accompanied by his cowherd boyfriends, and he plays his transcendental flute. The residents of Vrindavan are fortunate to be able to constantly see the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, who are worshipped by great demigods like Lord Shiva and the goddess of fortune. We cannot estimate how many pious activities were executed by the damsels of Rajabhumi so that they will be able to enjoy the Supreme Bhagavan by looking upon the unparalleled beauty of his transcendental body. The beauty of the Lord is beyond compare. No one is higher than or equal to him in beauty of complexion or bodily lustre. Krishna and Balaram are the reservoir of all kind of opulence, namely wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. The gopis are so fortunate that they can see and think of Krishna 24 hours a day, beginning from the milking of cows or husking the paddy or churning the butter in the morning, while engaging in cleaning their houses and washing their floors. They're always absorbed in thought of Krishna. So we can see that all the ladies who are being witnessing this wrestling match, there is so much of the conversation that was going on between all the ladies who are watching. And one side they feel it's very unfair, and there's other ladies who feel like just looking at the face of Krishna and how much of perspiration that's going on. Another person was looking at Balaram and seeing how beautiful he's looking at that. And this is the beauty of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, right? When we are doing certain activities like a fighting and all these things, you find people getting tired, people getting all kind of things. But Krishna Bhagavan, even on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in spite of all this deadly war that was happening on, Krishna was looking so beautiful as ever. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the source of all the beauty, the source of all the transcendental pleasure, he's a reservoir of all the attractiveness. In fact, the very word Krish refers to all attractive, and Na refers to all bliss, full of bliss. So someone who's all attractive and all blissful. So because if we find the common Norman people, some people itself, we find them so pretty and so beautiful. So what about the source, the Supreme Bhagavan himself, how beautiful Krishna must be looking. So all these people are witnessing, and they are also thinking, the people of Mathura are thinking about the gopis in Vrindavan, and how fortunate they must be that Supreme Bhagavan Sri Krishna and Balaram, who is even worshipped by Lord Shiva, and they are so fortunate. What pious activities they must have done. And this is so beautiful, right? Even in India and other places, especially in Sanatan Dharma, we always know that if somebody is enjoying some great opulences and all that, we say like, oh my God, this person must have done so much of pious activities in his previous life. So reincarnation and these things are so well known in Sanatan Dharma that we all know that whatever you must have done in your previous life, and everything is happening in this life. In fact, Krishna Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, Yesham, in one of the verse in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagavan says that Krishna Bhakti is not something which is so common that when we go to a temple that we think that we are just come to see Krishna. It's not like that. In fact, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that people who have done so many pious activities in the previous life have done, and whose kind of like sinful activities are all completely nullified and completely, and the sinful activities even in this life, in the previous life, and who have done so much of pious activities, they come to the final platform of Krishna Bhakti. Yesham gata antapatapapnam jananam punya karmanam, Krishna Bhagavan says, where he's saying like how Krishna Bhakti is such a rare thing that you come to a final platform of Krishna Bhakti only after you have had so many lifetimes of Krishna Bhakti, so many pious activities that you must have done in your previous life. So here we can see that the ladies of Mathura are saying that the people of Vrindavan must have been done so much of pious activities that they're personally having the association of Krishna. So we can imagine what kind of joy. And we have covered also in the previous chapters as well, where we have explained about the rishis or the ancient sages during the time of Lord Ram, where they were so much enamored by the beauty of Ram, and they were blessed by Ram that in the in the avatar of Krishna, that they will have their association, and some of them they happen to be in the form of the gopis as well, and that's the reason why they have, because they have done so many austerities, so many pious activities to have the association of Krishna. The gopis give a perfect example of how one can execute Krishna consciousness even while performing various type of material engagements. By constantly being absorbed in the thought of Krishna, one cannot be affected by contamination or material activities. The gopis, therefore, are perfectly in trance, samadhi, the highest perfectional stage of mystic power. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that one who is constantly thinking of Krishna is a first-class yogi among all kind of yogis. My dear friends, one lady told another, we must accept the activities of the gopis to be the highest form of piety. Otherwise, how could they have achieved the opportunity to see Krishna both morning and evening? In the morning when he goes to the pasturing grounds with the cows and cowherd boyfriends, and in the evening when he returns with them, playing his on his flute and smiling very beautiful, brilliantly. So we can imagine how the gopis, they were just trying to think. When you talk about samadhi, when you say samadhi, it's like completely mind focused in one thought, and that's the thought of Krishna Bhagwan. And here Krishna talks about, the gopis being the highest and the topmost yogis. And Krishna Bhagwan, as here Prabhupada mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagwan says, Yoginam api sarvesam madgate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate mam same yukta tamamataha. And Krishna Bhagwan gives us the definition of highest form of yoga. The first class yogi, Krishna Bhagavan gives us the definition. One who's always thinking of Krishna within his heart and rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and that is the highest form of yoga. This is what Krishna Bhagavan is telling in Bhagavad Gita, in Bhakti Yoga. So we have to understand that it's very important that to follow in the footsteps and understand. Because many times when you say, you should always think about Krishna and you carry on doing your duties, many people say, like, oh, how can you think about Krishna and at the same time doing your duties? But actually, if you really think about it in the material world, how many times do we always, when we are working, we are always thinking about what we're going to enjoy in the evening? We are thinking about, oh, what function we are going to go at later, or what shopping we are going to go later. In the back of your mind, you're thinking about so many things, isn't it? So we think it's quite difficult. But when you start developing this love for Krishna, then the sort of, Krishna prema will automatically develop. And then, as I said, Krishna Bhagavan himself is saying, always think of me in the form of Krishna and always carry on doing your duties. And this is what the gopis have been doing. They were following exactly what Krishna had been asking in Bhagavad Gita, right? So and this is what and here the people of Mathura, the ladies of Mathura, they're just kind of like thinking how the gopis are such a perfect example to execute Krishna consciousness, because in the morning and in the evening, every time they're always thinking about Krishna and is playing his flute. When Bhagwan Sri Krishna, the Paramatma of all the Jivatmas, understood that the ladies in the assembly were anxious for him, he decided not to continue wrestling but to kill the wrestlers immediately. The parents of Krishna and Balaram, namely Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, Vasudeva, and Devaki, were also very anxious because they did not know the unlimited strength of the children. Lord Balaram was fighting with the wrestler Mustika in the same way that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was fighting and wrestling with Chanura. Lord Krishna appeared to be cruel to Chanura, and he immediately struck him thrice with his fist. The great wrestler was jolted to the astonishment of the audience. Chanura then took his last chance and attacked Krishna, just as one hawk swoops upon another. Holding his two hands, he began to strike the chest of Krishna, but Lord Krishna was not even slightly disturbed, any more than an elephant is when hit by a flower garland. Krishna quickly caught the two hands of Chanura and began to wheel him around, and simply by a centrifugal action, Chanura lost his life. Krishna then threw him to the ground. Chanura fell just like a flag of Indra, and all his nicely fashioned ornaments were scattered hither and thither. So we can see like how Bhagavan Sri Krishna, he is the source. Krishna Bhagavan tells in Bhagavad Gita, he is the strength in all the people whom we think the very strong. If somebody is thinking he's strong, he's the strength behind the strong people. So everything, even the strength is coming from Krishna. So you can imagine how powerful Krishna is, because he is the Paramatma who is sitting in everyone's heart. And as we know, And Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, he's always just a loving son, Krishna, and her interest is always to protect Krishna. The kind of a mood, the rasa that we had is always like in the mood of a parent taking care of his child. Even though Krishna was, when he was a small child, showed the heel Viswarupam in the mouth of when he was a small kid, still in her eyes, she's always looking at Krishna as this loving son. So they were very anxious. What's going to happen to their children? Because on the other hand, they were like mighty wrestlers like Mustika and Chanura. But as we can see from here, that for the demonic people, as much as Krishna is so loving for the devotees, but when for the demonic people, he comes in the form of death. And so here you can see that Krishna is equally more cruel to this Chanura, and he struck him so hardly that sometimes even during the fights, you must have many people would have witnessed. We just take the person in your hand and just whirl him around, with full force. And you can see here that he given one striking blow, even though struck on the chest of Krishna, but Krishna was just like he was not even. It was almost like if Garland was touching him, and he was just like caught the two hands and just began to wheel him up. So you can imagine, bring to mind how powerful Krishna was. That even though mighty wrestlers like them were trying to attack Krishna, Krishna just by whirling him around, Chanura lost his life, and then he threw him onto the ground. So this is what, right? In We can take in this material world, the problems that become like monsters, the problems that come in the form of huge wrestlers, we can't wrestle with them. It is very impossible to wrestle with the problems that come in the form of like a form of wrestlers, like all of us we have witnessed, and it's very difficult for us to overcome the problems in this material world. Daivi Esha the Guna Maya Mama Maya Duratyaya. Krishna Bhagavan says this divine energy of mine is very difficult to cross. But at the same time, if we take to Krishna Bhakti, but for Krishna, all these wrestlers and everything that comes in the form of this material energy, for them it is nothing, because everything is working in the direction of Krishna. Krishna is the master, and this material energy is always serving Krishna. Maya jakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetu nanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. The material energy is working under my direction, O Arjuna. Under its rule, everything is getting manifested and everything is being struck down. So here you can see that for Krishna, it was just nothing. At the same time, on the other hand, Krishna was struck down Chanura, but Balaram was fighting with Mustika. So Mustika also struck Balaram, and Balarama returned the stroke with great force. Mustika began to tremble and vomit blood. Distressed, he gave up his vital force and fell down just as a tree falls down in a hurricane. So you can imagine this enormous strength of Balaram as well. Like Balaram has given one big stroke, and I think many of you would have which you have seen Balaram. He holds that huge this thing also. It looks like the one which we use for farming thing, like a massive instrument that he uses. And so here you can see that Balram is given one big stroke to, and immediately he gives up his vital thing, just like a tree falls down. So the comparison also you can understand, like like how, just imagine a small ant or a small this thing just playing with a human being. It's just no match for us, isn't it? Just like how if you really think about it. So like that, even if it's a mighty wrestler, they never stood a chance in front of. They can never stand a chance in front of Krishna. After the two wrestlers were killed, a wrestler named Kuta came forward, and Lord Balaram immediately caught him in his left hand and killed him nonchalantly. A wrestler of the name Sala came forward, and Krishna immediately cracked his head with a stick, with a kick. A wrestler named Toshala came forward and was killed in the same way. Thus, all the great wrestlers were killed by Krishna and Balaram, and the remaining wrestlers fled from the assembly out of fear for their lives. All the cowherd boyfriends of Krishna and Balaram approached them and congratulated them with great pleasure. While trumpets resounded and drums were beaten, the leg bells on the feet of Krishna and Balaram tinkled. So you can see how Krishna and Balaram are so beautifully dressed, isn't it? Apart from those colorful dresses that Krishna and Balaram had, they also had these beautiful leg bells on the feet of Krishna. I mean, you can just bring to mind how beautiful Krishna must be looking at. You can, like, this, we are so blessed. Himlata Mataji has put this beautiful picture of Sri Ram at the age of 5 years, as you can see in the here in the picture. How beautiful Balaram, Lord Ram is at the age of 5, isn't it? So we can bring to mind, because as you said, The picture looks very like Balakrishna as well. So we can bring to mind how beautiful Krishna must be looking at that age, isn't it? With all this leg bells and everything, and beautifully dressed, and having a flute, and so we can know from here that even though Chanura and the wrestling started off with Chanura and Mustika, but then later Kuta and Toshala and Sala, the three of these wrestlers, they came forward and they tried to attack Krishna and Balaram, but at the same time, so seamlessly, Krishna and Balaram, they put an end to all these wrestlers, and now Balaram, and they've been congratulated. As we all know, that along with Krishna and Balaram, all the remaining cowherd boys also came from Vrindavan to Mathura. So they were like congratulating them, and it was such a wonderful, if you just bring to mind how beautiful it must have been at that time. All the people gathered there began to clap in great ecstasy, and no one could estimate the bounds of their pleasure. The Brahmanas present began to praise Krishna and Balaram ecstatically. Only Kamsa was morose. He neither clapped nor offered benediction to Krishna. Kamsa resented that the trumpets and drums should be played for Krishna's victory, and he was very sorry that the wrestlers had been killed and had fled the assembly. He therefore immediately ordered the band to stop playing and addressed his men as follows: I order that these two sons of Vasudeva be immediately driven out of Mathura. The cowherd boys who have come with them should be plundered and all their riches taken away. Nanda Maharaj should be immediately arrested and killed for his cunning behavior, and rascal Vasudeva should also be killed without delay. Also, my father Ugrasena, who has always supported my enemies against my will, should be killed. So you can see Kamsa was already having heartbeats, because like his heartbeat was going higher, because he already knows he's been, the prophecy has said, and then Nanda and then Narada has personally gone and told Kamsa that he's going to be, the person who's going to be killed. Krishna is there in Vrindavan, and he's the one who has to, who's going to put an end to him. So he's already knows that death is coming closer to him. And now we can see that even the elephant has been, Kovalyapida has been killed. Now the wrestlers, they have been killed. And as you can see, right, in many of the movies also, we can see that when the hero kills the main villain, all the remaining people, they start fleeing from that place. So similarly here, Krishna and Balaram, they killed the key, the most important wrestlers, they have put an end to them, killed them mercilessly, sir, because for them it is just nothing. For Krishna always comes to put an end to the demonic people, and here they were serving Kamsa. So they were all put to an end to it. And now that they have fled, and now it comes to now the actual villain is entering into the scene. Kamsa is coming into the demonic king, and now we can see that he was in such a mood that he was not ready to even. He's resenting why even the trumps and drums should be played, because normally when there is somebody who comes out victorious, you naturally, the very next thing that happens is blowing of trumpets and drums and everything. But here we can see that he's addressing to all these people, like, and that they should stop that. And at the same time, as we know that when Krishna and Balaram comes along with the cowherd boys to Mathura, they come with a lot, loaded with a lot of things to present for the king. That's the, in those days, that's the formalities, and that's the ritual that was followed, that when you're going and meeting a king, or when you're going to for an event that has been invited by the king, the cowherd people, they had carried a lot of things to give as gifts to the Kamsa. So here he's saying, and look at the orders that he's being giving, and that the two boys like Krishna and Balaram should be driven out of Mathura, and he's telling like Nanda Maharaj and everybody should be arrested and they should be killed. Vasudeva should be killed, and you can imagine how much cruel he is. Earlier he was ready to kill his own sister Devaki, and here he's ready to kill his own father, Ugrasena. So you can imagine that how much of fear he had for his life, and how much, just for the fear of his life, he keeps thinking about that everybody should be, who is coming on the way, should be killed. And if you remember in Bhagavad Gita, this is what Krishna is saying, like, the people who are of the divine and demonic people, then this is the nature of the demonic people. They always think like, somebody is my enemy and I should put an end to him. I should be richer than him. Anybody who comes on my way, I should get them killed. So this is the demonic attitude, and which Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, and you can see that happening in Krishna Katha. When Kamsa spoke in this way, Bhagavan Sri Krishna became very angry with him, because here he's talking about threatening his own father and mother. And within a second, he jumped onto the high dais of King Kamsa. Kamsa was prepared for Krishna's attack, for he knew from the beginning that Krishna was going to be the supreme cause of his death. Kamsa immediately unsheathed his sword and prepared to answer the challenge of Krishna with sword and a shield. And Kamsa wielded his sword up and down, Hita and Trita, and Lord Krishna, the supreme powerful Bhagwan, caught hold of him with great force. The supreme personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the complete creation, and from whom the lotus navel, the whole creation is manifested, immediately knocked down the crown from the head of Kamsa and grabbed his whole long hair in his hand. He then dragged Kamsa from his seat to the wrestling dais and threw him down. Then Krishna at once straddled his chest and began to strike him over and over again. And simply from the strokes of Krishna's fist, Kamsa lost his vital force. So the whole action, right from the beginning of Krishna Katha, we've been dealing with the chapters which talk about the background of the whole thing, how when Krishna was born and how the prophecy has come, and how from that time onwards, how Krishna Kamsa was so eager to kill Vasudeva and Devaki, and Vasudeva had to pacify Kamsa. Please, I'm not the one who's going to kill you, so why do you want to kill me? And then he excused him. And from time to time, Kamsa was always fearful of his death. And he killed so many people who were born at that point of time, and the killing doesn't end over here. Now that he knows that there is Krishna in Vrindavan who's been told by Narada, now he's doing everything that in his might to kill. And as you can know, right, even today also, the king is always kept on a very high dais, like, he must be sitting somewhere on a throne, on a very high, a good kind of a thing, throne that must have been prepared at a very good height, because that's how the normal ritual that's been followed. But here we can see that Krishna was very angry on Kamsa because he really instigated Krishna by asking the people to go and, get hold of, throw Krishna and Balaram out of this place. And he's trying to tell them to go and kill his own Krishna's parents. So now Krishna is getting very angry, just like any boy who gets very angry when his parents are threatened. So immediately we can see that he just jumps onto this place where Krishna, but Kamsa was very well prepared because he was always fearing for his life. So he was prepared with his sword and with his shield, and was trying to kind of like make all kind of like the maneuvering that they do with the knife, with the sword that they do. But for Krishna, it was nothing. He's the supreme cause of all the causes, right? And from him, Brahma is born, from whom this whole creation has come into. So what is Kamsa for him? It's just nothing. So it's so easily he knocks down the crown of Kamsa and he grabs him by this hair, and he just gets him onto the wrestling dais, and he just gets him on his chest and strikes him again. And just by the stroke of Krishna's hand, he's just losing his vital force, and finally Kamsa his life comes to an end. Just in one paragraph, you can see like how he's so powerful that with one stroke, even the mighty demonic king like Kamsa can just come onto the ground and losing his life. To assure his parents that Kamsa was dead, Bhagwan Sri Krishna dragged him just like as a lion drags an elephant after killing it. When people saw this, there was a great roaring sound from all sides as some spectators expressed their jubilation and others cried in lamentation. From that day, Kamsa had Kamsa had heard he would be killed by the eighth son of Devaki. He was always thinking of Krishna with his wheel in hand. And because he was very much afraid of his death, he was thinking of Krishna in that form 24 hours a day without stopping, even while eating, while walking, and while breathing. And naturally, he got the blessing of liberation. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Sada Tad Bhava Bhavita. A person gets his next life according to the thoughts in which he was always absorbed. Kamsa was thinking of Krishna with his wheel, which means Narayana, who holds a wheel, conch shell, lotus flower, and club. And this is the thing, right? So we can see that finally Kamsa's life has come to an end. And just to make it very clear to his parents, Krishna also drags him, just like how lion is dragging an elephant after killing him, which is just amazing to see, like how spectacular that situation must have been. There's so much of jubilation on one side, and the people who supporting Kamsa, there was a lot of lamentation on that side, kind of thing. So, but here we can see from Kamsa that, even though in a very negative way, but he was always thinking about Krishna because he knew that his life is in the hands of Krishna. And he was, no matter day and night, every time, just like how the gopis are thinking about Krishna, but in with so much of loving desire to see Krishna's peace, to for the pleasure of Krishna, to see always how to serve Krishna, and also in a very loving way they're always thinking. But exactly opposite is Kamsa, was always thinking about Krishna because he always wanted to put an end to Krishna. But because he was always thinking of Krishna, naturally he got the blessing of liberation as well. And this is what Bhagwan Sri Krishna says, right? At the time of death, whatever you think about it, that is what you will be getting in your next life as well. And you can only think about that in the last period of your life, only when you are practiced Krishna consciousness all your life. And it is said that if you have practiced Krishna consciousness all your life, and for some reason, for some health reason, if you are not able to think about Krishna, Krishna says that he will think about his devotee and he'll take him back. So that is the love of Krishna. So never, we should always keep in mind and never have the doubt, but always have this faith that if I'm dedicating my life for Krishna, if I am always thinking of Krishna, my Krishna will always think of me and take him back to his Krishna Loka. That's the kind of a faith that we should have, that even if I'm unconscious, but Krishna is always conscious, he is always sitting in our heart. I may be in coma, I may be in unconscious, but Krishna is always conscious. He is sitting in each and every one's heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivisto matasmitir jnanam apohanam cha. Everything is coming from, he is sitting in everyone's heart, and from him comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So Krishna gives us the benediction. He is the one. In fact, here he's thinking about Krishna in the form of Narayana. You know, when Narayana, as you all know, like he's always holding a wheel and a conch shell and a lotus flower and a club, and wheel and a club for demonic people, and a conch shell and lotus flower for his devotees. I would like to just, it's just past 9. Is it okay if I just cover till the end? Or is that okay? Or shall we just carry on later? Just want to take everyone's opinion.
I'm okay. Continue if you'd like.
Thank you, Prabhuji. According to the opinion of authorities, Kamsa attained Sarupya Mukti after death. That is to say, he attained the same form of Narayana, Vishnu. On the Vaikuntha planets, all the inhabitants have the same bodily feature as Narayana. After his death, Kamsa attained liberation as was promoted to Vaikuntha Loka. From this instance, we can understand that even a person who thinks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an enemy gets liberation or a place in the Vaikuntha planet. So what to speak of the pure devotees who are always absorbed in fear thoughts of Krishna? Even an enemy killed by Krishna gets liberation and is placed in the impersonal Brahma Jyotir. Since the Supreme Personality of God is all good, anyone thinking of him either as an enemy or as a friend gets liberation. But the liberation of the devotee and the liberation of the enemy are not the same. The enemy generally gets the liberation of the Sayujya, and sometimes he gets Sarupya liberation. But so here you can see that Kamsa is, even though he had so much of animosity towards Krishna, so much of ill thinking about Krishna, but still he was, the authorities say that he managed to get Sarupya Mukti. So which is such an amazing thing, isn't it? To be getting, to be blessed like that, even though they were thinking unfavorably. So we can understand, and it's beautiful to understand from this that unlike in the material world, in the Vaikuntha planet, anybody who goes to the Vaikuntha planet, they also have the same bodily features as Narayan, like four-handed Narayan. So which is just amazing to think, isn't it? How Vaikuntha planet must be looking at, like everybody is looking like Narayan at the time. How beautiful and blissful the place must have been. And so even a person who's killed by Krishna gets liberation. So many people, they think like, how could Krishna, the Supreme Bhagwan, kill, and what will happen to them, and how could he show so much wisdom? But Krishna comes for a purpose to put an end to all these demonic people, and he comes to the material world at the instance of Mother Bhumi Devi. But at the same time, Krishna is also so kind that anybody who dies in the front of Krishna, they all get liberated. So we should make no mistakes to think that the God is punishing, because this is the thing, right? In material world, everybody is fearing of God. Oh, God is going to punish. But you can see, like even the people, even the demonic people are punished by God, they got liberated. How much can you do to get liberation like that? But if you're thinking of Krishna, that's ultimately going to lead us to liberation. So Kamsa had 8 brothers headed by Kanka, all of them younger than he. And when they learned that their elder brother had been killed, they combined together and rushed towards Krishna in a great anger to kill him. Kamsa and his brothers were all Krishna's maternal uncles. brothers of Krishna's mother, Devaki. When Krishna killed Kamsa, he killed his maternal uncle, which is against the regulations of the Vedic injunctions. Although Krishna is independent of all Vedic injunction, he violates the Vedic injunction only in inevitable cases. Kamsa could not be killed by anyone but Krishna. Therefore, Krishna was obliged to kill him. But as far as Kamsa's 8 brothers were concerned, Balarama took care of killing them. Balarama's mother, Rohini, although the wife of Vasudeva, was not the sister of Kamsa. Therefore, Balarama took charge of killing of all the Kamsa's 8 brothers. He immediately took up an available weapon, most probably the elephant's tusk, which he carried, and killed the 8 brothers one after another, just like an oil lion kills a flock of deer. Krishna and Balaram thus verified the statement that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in order to give protection to the pious and kill the impious demons who are always enemies of demigods. So we can know, I didn't know about this. I think it's again another beautiful thing that Kamsa had 8 brothers. So they were all like maternal uncles of Krishna. But again, these 8 people, they're the sons of another wife. So here we can see that all these 8 brothers have been taken care by Balaram took the charge of going and killing them. So so you can imagine, right? I mean, Kamsa was such a demonic kill. He was actually been given the prophecy that he's going to be killed by Krishna. But now, because there are all these 8 people are brothers of a demonic people, even they came charging towards Krishna. Can you imagine how unfair it is that such people of such an elderly age, the age of Kamsa, rushing towards tender boys like Krishna and trying to go and kill them? So you can imagine this is the nature of the demonic people, isn't it? When you're associating with the demonic people, you want to do similar demonic things as well. But then, and also Krishna, one thing, the most important thing is Krishna says, actually, I'm not going to touch any weapon in Kurukshetra. But again, he takes the wheel and fights with the Bhishma. So Krishna is beyond all these Vedic rituals or Vedic injunctions. He's above everything, and he's above all the material energy as well. And because he was meant to be killed by Krishna, and only because Krishna could kill him, he just goes and kills him. That's it, period. Because he's above everything, above any Vedic ritual or anything. And now these things that Balaram takes care of. And by the comparison that Prabhupada says, just like a lion kills a flock of deer, can you imagine how a tender boy like Balaram has so much of strength that he could just kill all the 8 brothers of Kamsa just like that? But then again, this whole Krishna Katha is driving the point, a practical demonstration of what Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Paritrana sadhuna vinasaya duskritam. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhitanam adharmasya tadatmanam chadam yaham. Whenever there is a decline in religious principle and religious duties, Krishna descends, and that's what he's doing. He's come for that purpose, as he mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. The demigods from the highest planetary systems showered flowers, congratulating Krishna and Balaram. Among the demigods were powerful personalities like Lord Brahma and Shiva, and all joined together in showing the jubilation over Kamsas. They were beating of drums and showering of flowers from the heavenly planets, and the wives of the demigod danced in ecstasy. As we can see, like throughout the Krishna Leelas, we covered in so many chapters that whenever a demonic king or demon like Putana or Denakasura, everybody, when they were killed, the demigods are like super happy, they're blissful, and they're showering flowers and congratulations. So they're like from the top, they're enjoying this Krishna Leelas, just like how we are enjoying the Krishna Leela in the association of the devotee. The wives of Kamsa and the 8 brothers were aggrieved at the sudden death of their husbands, and all of them were struck their foreheads. All of them struck their foreheads and shed torrents of tears, crying loudly and embracing the body of their husbands, which lay on the wrestling dais. The wives of Kamsa and his brothers lamented, addressing the dead bodies, "Our dear husbands, you are so kind and are protectors of your dependents. Now, after your death, we are also dead, along with your homes and children. We no longer look auspicious. On account of your death, the auspicious functions to take place, such as the sacrifice of the bow, have all been spoiled. Our dear husbands, you treated people ill who were faultless, and as a result, you were being killed. This is inevitable because a person who torments an innocent person must be punished by the laws of nature. We know that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Supreme Master and the Supreme Enjoyer of everything. Therefore, one who neglects his authority can never be happy, and ultimately, as you have, he meets death. So we can see that from the wives of the Kamsa and his brothers, like, even though they were lamenting like about and crying loudly because that the husbands have dead. But at the same time, they know that this was supposed to be an auspicious occasion, the breaking the sacrificial bow and all that, which Krishna went and he just broke the bow into two pieces, just like an elephant breaks sugarcane, as we covered in the earlier chapter. But at the same time, the wives are also realizing, where they're just giving the realization that because their husbands, Kamsa and others, they treated other people with the unlawfully, and that's the reason why they've been killed. So people in those days, they're very clear in their mind that when you try to do something sinful to other people, you will encounter the same and you will be killed as well. So the law of karma always apply. In today's world, actually, it's very interesting that in the Western world, they use karma so fluently these days. Actually, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because they're also trying to realize that the law of karma, how it works. So here we can see that, yeah, and also like the wives of these Kamsa brothers, they had this knowledge, right? They were saying like he's the supreme, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and we all know from Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka mahesharam suhridam sarvabhutanam jnatamam shantim richati. But Bhagwan Sri Krishna, he is the supreme enjoyer. He is the supreme Bhagwan of all the universes, and he is the most well-wisher and the someone who is always a protector of all the devotees. Suhridam Sarva Bhutana. He is the best well-wisher and the best friend of all the living entities, which we have forgotten. But then the wives of Kamsa, they have realized, that that because they have picked it up with the Krishna, who is the supreme enjoyer. Since Krishna was kind and affectionate to his aunts, he solaced them as far as possible. The ritualistic ceremonies performed after that were then conducted under the personal supervision of Krishna, because he happened to be the nephew of all the dead princes. After finishing this business, Krishna and Balaram immediately released their father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, who had been imprisoned by Kamsa. Krishna and Balaram fell at the parents' feet and offered them prayers. Vasudeva and Devaki had suffered so much trouble from Kamsa because Krishna was their son. Devaki and Vasudeva were fully conscious of Krishna's exalted position as the Supreme Personality. Therefore, although Krishna touched their feet and offered them obeisances and prayers, they did not embrace them, but simply stood up to hear the Supreme Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Although Krishna was born as the son, Vasudeva and Devaki were always conscious of this position. So you can see, like, when Krishna comes, like in the form of a human form, like how nicely they have been following, right? And Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that even though he's totally detached from all this material world, still he's performing his duties, because if he neglects his duties, that will cause so much of ruin to the whole universe. So Krishna, even though he's come, he's always perform his duties. Yad yad achariti shresya tat tat eva taro jana shrayat pramanam kurite lokastad anuvartate. Krishna says whatever standards, whatever actions that the leaders do, the others follow them, right? And whatever standards that you set as leaders, the others follow the same standard. So you can see that Krishna is, when he came in the human form, also he was following all this to the letter, like everything was being followed. So here, as soon as he killed the Krishna, he performed the ritualistic ceremonies of his own of his uncle Kamsa, even though he killed him. And at the same time, he's also released his father Devaki and Vasudeva and Devaki, and fell at the feet also. So much of love that he was showing, and he was showing the way that this is how we have to live in this world. We should always Matru Deva Bhava, Pitru Deva Bhava. We should never forget that we always have that thing in India also, like mother and father. They are like the divine forms of God, so that we have to consider. So here you can see that Krishna was doing the same. He was touching their feet and offering obeisances. But Devaki and Vasudeva, they knew their position, that Krishna is the supreme Bhagavan, and they were very clear about their conscious position, that they are the eternal servants of Krishna and Balaram. So this comes to one end of a beautiful chapter, the 44th chapter of Krishna, killing of Kamsa. We had just ended with that. I mean, this is something which is, it's almost, I feel like, the first part of Krishna Katha, because we started off saying how Krishna was born, and we started off saying how Kamsa was ready to kill. And now in the 44th chapter, we are talking about Krishna putting an end to Kamsa in this chapter. So I just went over a few minutes, about 15 minutes more than 9 o'clock, but thank you so much. And I'm so sorry for taking a bit more time than 9 o'clock, being conscious about being a weekday. And I know tomorrow is Friday. So I would like to stop here and just open for any realizations and any comments. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Ramnath Prabhuji, any comments, please?
Um, Nothing specifically. I mean, as you're reading and talking about how Krishna comes to kill the demons, but we have to actually sometimes think, well, why doesn't Krishna come now and make it easier for the devotees by killing out the demoniac forces? But we have to be patient. Krishna has his plan, how to do that. How to do that. Just like, for example, the Ram temple, it was a period of 500 years. That's a long time.
Very long.
So Krishna has his way of dealing with adharmic forces, demoniac forces, and disposing of demoniac energy. So, of course, this whole pastime of Krishna killing Kamsa, I mean, it's really wonderful to hear. But again, it was all kind of like premeditated part of Krishna's Leela. He knew what he was going to do, and in due course of time, he did it. So I guess in a similar way, even in the Hare Krishna movement in ISKCON, sometimes I think, well, there's so many difficult forces that are against us. Why can't Krishna just come and help us out? But ultimately, it's his plan, it's his time, it's his scheduling, and certainly we can see that great strides were made on Monday with the installation of the Ram deity to help us attack. It's almost like a rebirth of Ram to kill the Ravanas of the world.
Absolutely, Prabhuji. I mean, it is such a reinforcing of faith in Bhagavan that that we, as we've seen yuga after yuga, that how Krishna is always descending in different avatars, and it's so important. Actually, what happened on Monday is in Ayodhya was giving us the reinforcing our faith that we should have patience and we should do everything offering.
Patience, yeah.
And as Krishna says, Matra that's as you said, Prabhuji, it always happens over a certain period of time when Krishna descends or makes things happen. And when that happens, it happens in one master stroke, like everybody is, like how Krishna arranges all the demonic people in the battlefield and just kills them in one stroke. You never know how these things are being arranged for the Supreme, but they will happen. In today's material.
Well, it certainly feels like, if I can just go on like a gut level feeling, that India Sanatana Dharma is on the rise, and the Abrahamic Western traditions are on the decline because of what's happening in Israel, and the Abrahamic traditions are getting ready to fight each other. It seems like. So, in one sense, if you look at the timing, it's like perfect timing. As the Abrahamic traditions are getting ready to fight each other, the Dharmic traditions are unifying around Ramchandra and everything Ramchandra represents.
Yes, absolutely.
As a leader, as a personality of Godhead, as Maryada Purushottam, everything is now becoming unified around Ram, and it feels very tangible for those of us who can try and understand it, that this is happening now. So perhaps Krishna had to wait all this time so that the world situation would be in what it's in now for this temple to be built, the Pran Pratishtha, everything. Ultimately, as I explained before, I think it was the other day, Krishna's understanding of past, present, and future. In other words, Krishna knows what's going to happen. We can't know, but he knows. So it has to be according to his plan always.
Absolutely. Very wonderfully said, Prabhuji. Yes, very beautiful time to be in. Ratan Prabhu, Amoga Prabhuji, Anil Prabhu, Hemal Prabhu, any comments, any realizations, please? Hemalati Prabhu Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It is so beautiful, Prabhuji. So I don't have any comments. It's this Chanur and Mustar, they are children of Uttatya Mahamuni. So he is the devotee of the Lord. His children were, he is a Brahmana, but his children, they were trying to practice wrestling in the Bali Maharaja's compound, and instead of practicing Brahmana's duties, so he cursed them, you just become a wrestlers. That's this Chanur and Mustika. That is, with the name, it is mentioned by Brahma to Narada, one of the Mahajanas, in second canto, 7th chapters. So that is just wanted to mention. And also the 8 younger brothers of Kamsa. There are 8 children of Deva Yaksha. He is one of the associate of Kuvera. So he is a devotee of Lord Shankara. But when his father, he has got 8 children, and those children, he asked them to bring 1,000 lotus flowers for Lord Shiva's worship. But when they went, and then when they bringing, they smelled the flowers, and it ruined the prayers of Lord Shankara. So one should not smell the flowers before offering to the Lord. So because of that, they became Kamsa Younger brothers. So that was, once again, it is Garga Samhita.
Oh, Garga Samhita. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Always adding more nectar and a context around some of these divine leelas. So very well. Thanks, Amoga Prabhu. That's really nice to get more background on some of these leelas. Thank you, Prabhu. Ratan Prabhuji, Nagaraj Prabhu, anything, any of this?
Hare Krishna. If Krishna desire, Krishna fulfill all the desires, whoever desires. So why not Chanura, Mustika and Kamsa? They desire to kill Krishna, to Krishna. Why their desire was not fulfilled?
That was the desire, isn't it? I mean, I don't know whether they were just following the orders of Kamsa, and because they were reporting to Kamsa and it was their duty to honor the king that they were doing it. But because I think that's a plan of Kamsa, I'm not sure whether they have a personal desire actually to kill Krishna. But it seemed like, going by the Krishna Katha, that maybe they were just asked by the king and they can't refuse the king, and they had to follow the orders of the king. So they were thinking of killing Krishna and Balaram. That's what my thinking, Prabhu. That maybe they were just following the orders of the king. I mean, I'm not sure if there's any other personal reason. I know what you're saying, because they had this desire. Maybe Krishna could have, but such kind of a desire even Kamsa had to kill Krishna. But Krishna comes for a purpose of putting an end to all these demonic people.
Another thing, maybe Chanura Mustika and other wrestler.
Yes.
What was their auspicious or whatever their Shukriti, so that they can anyway, they have touched the body of Lord. What was their Shukriti?
Yeah, what a Sukriti it is to be touched by the Lord. Yeah. I do not know whether they have again another history, just like how Chanura and Mustika that Prabhuji was talking about, that they were during another yoga time. Maybe there is something to do with, because all these people who had this part of this Krishna Leela, they all had a background from another yugas or something like that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have just encountered Krishna during the time of Dwapara Yuga. So that's why I think maybe it is something to do with the Priya, with any leelas happening from previous yugas.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji.
My final addition. Do you think Kamsa or Chanura Mustika or whatever the demons, were there any auspicious activities, auspicious thing in their life to part of Krishna's Kamsa or whatever other demons?
Yeah.
So is there any auspicious activities to take role in Krishna Lila? In another way, I can say, do we think they are only demon or reverse, not devotee?
Yeah,
Do
I
you
mean,
understand
the
my point?
devotees are demonic. I mean, to be honest, like in the Krishna book, as which we are following, there's no particular details, but apart from this Leela that we're talking about, where he's heard about the prophecy and he wants to go and kill, started having this killing tendencies and demonic thinking. But apart from that, I'm not sure about any other personal activities which we can categorize him as, like, because of all these activities that he's like a very demonic person. But you can see from this wife's the way they're lamenting, where they were thinking that because they have been very sinful and because they've been doing all sinful things, just being unfair to other people, and that's the reason why they met with the death. So from that conclusion of their wives of Kamsa, we can make out like they've been, kind of a demonic kings, going by the way they were lamenting at the same time. They were saying that they met with this death because of the way they lived their life. Um, being fair and being killing innocent people or doing things like the demonic things like that. But apart from that, there's no particular instances are being given so far in the Krishna book about Kamsa's dealings or what he has done. Apart from the Devaki and Vasudeva one, there have not been any personal instances that we know of which comes up. I mean, of course, we also know that he sent Putana and he was trying to send all these demonic people to kill Krishna. But apart from that, in his day-to-day thing, I'm not sure whether there's any personal one. Maybe from Bhagavatam we can get more, Prabhu, as if we cover anything.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, Prabhuji, I don't want to keep everyone holding. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks so much for your birthday wishes. I hope to spend my birthday tomorrow in manner and just some pleasant time in front of Krishna, so that my year goes well, and I ask for your blessings, Prabhuji, and all of you, so I can just practice and progress in Krishna consciousness.
Many happy Krishna conscious returns, so that you have a long life.
Thank you, Prabhuji. My fortune, Prabhuji, that we have your association. Very fortunate for us. Thank you, everyone.
Wish you a blessed.
Thank you, Sean. Hare
Wish you
Krishna.
a blessed today.
Serving
Yeah.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
All
Thank
Hari you. Hari
Krishna.
Bol.
Hari
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari
you,
Bol.
thank you, Prabhuji. Vanchikalpatarubhyasya kripasim
Vasanta Vacha Patitanam Pavane
pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavai Namanam Ananta
Hare
Koti Bhakti Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Gaur Pramande
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.